Welcome back to Haunted and Historic Australia for another episode in our Adventures series. In this episode, we take a look at the Gothic St Stephen's Anglican Church in Penrith and its graveyard. St Stephen's had its foundation stone laid on the 22nd of November 1837 by Bishop of Australia William Grant Broughton and assisted by 4 Reverends of the Anglican faith. Those being the Flogging Parson himself, Reverend Samuel Marsden, also Reverend Henry Fulton, who we've mentioned in our previous episodes surrounding Castlereagh burial ground, the Reverend Thomas Hassel also, and Reverend Harry Styles from One Direction. That was Reverend Henry Styles, who was a very kind clergyman. Sadly, Reverend Henry Styles lost his life in the Great Flood of the Hawkesbury in 1867, and we'll definitely have a story on that flood a little later. It's quite epic. It reached a staggering 19 metres above sea level. There's a story of the organ. An organ was built back in 1874 by Charles Jackson for the St Luke's Anglican Church in Sussex Street, Sydney. It was closed in 1905 and the organ was sold and purchased by St Stephen's Anglican Church in Penrith for £70. There were even pictures of it being installed, and it is still there today, being played in all its magnificence. Now, the first burials were unmarked and predated civil registration. There were about 900 unmarked graves in the St Stephen's churchyard. One of the first gravestones noted was William Martin, that states he died on the 25th of December 1838. So that would have been a sad Christmas day for the Martin family. There are many buried that I couldn't find information on, like Charles Bones Esquire. Now there's got to be something on him somewhere, but I couldn't find it. Sounds like a pretty interesting name. Others were very notable, being Sir John Jamison, son of First Fleeter Thomas Jamison. John became a rich landowner and good friend to Governor Lachlan Macquarie, even being one of those who founded the Bank of New South Wales in 1817, founded in the home of Mary Raby, who we had an episode for a couple of years ago now. Sir John Jamison died in 1844. There was another gravestone for the last of the First Nations Cromleroy People, named Steevy, in 1861. There was an elaborate gravestone for an Emily Popplewell and her family. Her husband Joseph, a master stonemason and early colonial sculptor, created this design for her burial. Emily was just one of many girls sent to Australia in the early European settlement days, requested by the colony the need for more women, as they had plenty of soldiers and plenty of male convicts, but women were running few and far between. As we know from some of our convict stories, some of the women who were married to convicts were separated from their convict husbands and then married by soldiers. So that was always nasty. And that story was in the Black Caesar episode. Emily Popplewell, it seems, had a wonderful life after meeting her husband Joseph and had many children and descendants. And then there was the unfortunate death of Police Sergeant James Beatty, who was killed in the line of duty. It occurred outside the Penrith police station when an Indian vagrant that Sergeant Beatty had told to leave town earlier that day launched himself upon the police sergeant and stabbed him multiple times. Well, there were other constables and members of the community chasing this guy down. Local Constable Mosby then pursued the offender and cornered him. However, the man threw a brick which struck the constable in the chest. He drew his service revolver and shot the offender, wounding him. Well, the locals threw themselves upon him. He died later that night, but unfortunately, so did Sergeant Beatty. His wounds proved to be fatal also. Sergeant Beatty was only 55 when he was murdered. The sign outside the graveyard also indicates the high amount of infant children that died in the 19th century. Now, a church such as St. Stephen's was somewhere we definitely had to look at. It's on the main street into Penrith, and it is a little hard to park anywhere out the front there, and we focus primarily on the graveyard, but it's definitely something to look at.
Alright, bit of a change up. We're at St. Stephen the Martyr Churchyard Cemetery, and there's a couple of notable people that they've already worked out for us, so that's good. Mitch has got a photo of this, and I'm going to start up at this end. So there's a couple, I can see one straight away that stands out at the back there. That is Emily Popplewell. And we've got a couple of others too. That's an old picture of St. Stephen's. Stevie. So we'll talk about them if I don't lose my hat. John Harrison, Charles Bones Esquire. Alright, so let's go and check this out. St. Stephen's is up the top there. Now we've jumped across to St. Stephen's because the fella that helped us out at the Penrith General told us a bit about this cemetery and that there was a police officer that's been shot. So we'll have to check that out. But just for now, James Evans will cruise through. That looks old. And no doubt we'll have some stories to go along with it. Now this cemetery was opened earlier, as you can see right back, and they look in pretty good condition here. You can see St. Stephen's Church in the back there. I believe that's on High Street, so it's a little difficult to get from the front, so it's easier to see it in the back way. Now there's definitely a lot of graves to see here, and they're also quite old, some of which you can't really read anymore. Lennox, Mao, Mason. Wow, they are really broken. But in saying that, it does look as though they've kind of looked after it a bit. I mean, the grounds are still good, considering that, you know, it's a little bit, it's on a descent, but Stanton, Knight, Aslow, Law, and Law, because that's almost close to my name. And this is a bit more quiet too. The fellow was doing some work over there, so we decided we'd move along. We got Doris at the Penrith General, so we were quite happy, so we decided we'd quickly come over here while we had the time, because this one is even older. We like old. Wow. And day. It's like another day. A little bit of information that the fellow at the Penrith Council worker didn't catch his name, but it was quite interesting and quite a bit of information that the Hadleys that we saw at Castlereagh burial ground, and I wondered if Ray Hadley was related. Well, he confirmed it, yeah. Apparently Ray Hadley was related to the Hadleys from the Castlereagh burial ground. How about that? That's really cool. I think that's awesome. Ray Hadley should be very proud to have some pioneers. I'm proud of mine. Now there's quite a few in here that's unreadable. This one's really interesting though. Ellen Jane Elliott Antoinetta. It's an interesting name, isn't it, Antoinetta? Now, some of these, as you can see, they're falling apart and broken. Looks like someone had a picnic in this one. Don't know what's going on there, but I mean, obviously it's quite open, and you know, times like Halloween, people get a little nutty, come into cemeteries and either do some damage or do some witchcraft, either or. But James Johnston, wow. There's a couple that one over there I need to look at. Sarah Emily and Emily Poplar over the back there. We've got apologies if I read that wrong. Auntie May. Isn't that lovely? So we're just doing a couple of more. The back here. Now 1906. Wow. Some of those are quite old. Thomas Wilmot. I wonder if he's the namesake of Wilmot, the suburb. Maybe part of the family of Wilmots. What have we got here? Now you're facing the other way. That's quite interesting. But I can't tell. James something maybe. They've all kind of got that wrought iron look about them. 1871. I thought I read 1817 for St Stephen's Church. Isn't it Gothic? And you know what? I think it may have been made, possibly, nah, it doesn't actually look as grand as, apologies for the wind, as grand as St Bart's. May not have been made by the same people that made St Bart's, but I'll check that out because it is kind of in the same shape as St Bartholomew's in Prospect, as well as St Matthew's in Windsor. And I don't know, it's just kind of shaped, without looking at the top of it, it's shaped very similar. So it's a possibility that is made by the same people, created. Wow. So I don't have a very long time to whip through here, unfortunately. So we'll have to make it as quick as we can, but this is definitely somewhere, respectfully of course, that I would like to come at night and have a little look around here like we did with St John's. We're just holding off a little bit at the moment. Apologies for the wind. Wow, that is amazing. Now this one here, now I've got to be very careful with where I tread at the moment. I want to knowingly walk on someone's grave. Wow. And this is just amazing. I mean, if you're in the Penrith area, I mean, obviously you've seen St Stephen's. Either that or you're blind. But yeah, no, you've definitely got to come down here and check this out. Now, I just want to have a look at Charles' bones. Now, no doubt, when you look around here, there's a walk-through area, which is similar to other cemeteries that we've been through, but then you can see some walkways actually have people buried in them, so being such an old cemetery, look, there's a chance that you're going to walk on graves. It's best you try not to. You're still possibly going to walking on people's graves. So that was Charles Bones Esquire, and we'll have some information about him. I was reluctant to walk over this lump, so I've got a feeling someone's in there. But that's quite an interesting headstone. There's more like that, so we'll have to check those out too. Apologies for the zooming in and out. Upton, Thomas Upton and the Upton family. Now that is frightful. Let's get a little closer, but not too close. Actually looks like it's crumbled in on itself. Doesn't really make sense looking at it. What's happened here? Perhaps a tree? No, there's no tree branches. Unless someone's, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense why it looks like that. It is spooky as. Very spooky. Can't even read whose stone it is. But it's definitely freaky. There's a couple of them that look like that. They're mowing around them. But they're broken in. Mashed in. So that's sad. Apologies again for the wind. I'm trying my best to not have it affect me too much speaking. I don't really want to yell. Edward Ireland, George Thomas. So we've got people in the building over here. What's that? Harriet Andrew. Okay. Now I'm hopefully holding this in a way that you guys can see pretty much what I'm looking at. Watley family. We've got William Allen, 1866. Yeah, so we'll definitely have some information about the first people interred in here. Frost, Tuxford. Or Tuxford. I want to have a look at that one down there. Get some berries and beer bottles and God knows what. What's this here? Now this is quite interesting that they've got one right up against the fence over there. Frost, George P. Frost. I can't read the date. Oh, 18. Who knows? But no doubt, I'm sure we'll find out. Sometimes the footer has the date. 1855, it looks like. 1855 with the shakes. Now I can't see what that one says on that angle. I'll just have a look around the other side if I can get in there. Does appear to be another Frost. Arnold, Chloe, Rolf. Nope, just can't seem to get in there. It's very hard to see. Just can't. Ethel? Could be Ethel Frost. It's just really difficult to get in there without getting underneath all of the undergrowth and stepping on the grave. So it's definitely part of the Frost family there. There's George P. Frost. Okay, let's have a little look at this one here. What have we got here? Wow, this is being held together. You can see how they're gluing them together there. Sometimes they have a back strap on them to keep them together as well, or they just glue them. Well, that one's not doing too badly considering there's many that just fall over. I suppose it's a work in progress to try and keep the old ones upright and intact. But hopefully the neighbours look over here and race people out if they're getting a bit wild in here, because it's very upsetting to think, you know, that someone's ancestors, you know, sharing a beer with yahoos. Oh, that's Alan, we've been there. Okay, who have we got here? Emily Popplewell back there, I'll have to have a look. Charles Alderman. Matilda Thompson. Oh, they go right to the back fence. I mean, if you lived in one of these houses, apologies for the wind again, you're pretty freaky, wouldn't you think? Apologies if anyone lives in these houses and you're watching. It's not meant to be disrespectful at all. It's just, yeah, it's really creepy. But I definitely live next to a cemetery. Apologies if you can't hear my voice. Oh, there's a cat. Hang on. Let's have a little look. Oh, hello. Yep, we found the guard. The guard of the cemetery. That's good. Watch cat. Now, Emily Popplewell. Let's see. 1863. I wonder what the significance of Emily Popplewell is. Well, I'm thrilled to go and find out and let you know if you don't already know. We'll find out together. Now, I haven't really lived in the Penrith area, although I have gone for the Panthers. I lived in St Mary's at one time and around the St Clair area. But Penrith was a little further than I actually ever got. Now I don't want to disturb the guard cat, so I'll go around this way. Now, how interesting. Gravity. Sometimes it's great and sometimes it sucks. Williams. Now, if the locals are watching, which they usually do, especially if they're historians and proud of their cemeteries, they don't always like people walking through and they keep an eye on people, so that's quite okay with me. I don't mind that. I'd do the same. When you have a look at how many beer bottles and things are in these grave areas, people come in, yahoos. Alice Hope, George Hope, one that's the grasses have taken over. I can't tell who that is, but unfortunately there's many Price. There's a couple facing different directions, which is really interesting. It's really interesting. Let me have a look over there. Just look at it around these graves, but it's just, oh, that's a fallen off the top there. John Price. Yeah, it's very interesting that they would have them facing different ways. Not east. How interesting. So we've got Collis. Now we saw some Collis. I'm just facing this way for a sec so the girl goes past. Now Collis was one that we saw at Castlereagh, Major Collis. So we've got a George and an Anne. But it is really interesting that they're facing the other way. There's quite a few of them facing this way, and others facing the other way. How about that? It's not something that I usually come across in cemeteries, where they're facing two different ways. Now I'm taking it that this is west, and these guys that you can see, Alice Hope and a lot of them, are facing east, yet John Price facing west. Could be that someone else is on the other side. Some earlier family members were buried, although 1893 is quite early. 1876 is quite early too. Ernest Marshall. We've got Kellett. A lot of these are facing the other way, but I do believe I filmed them, perhaps. Each over the other side, filming back up that way. Hosking. Martha Foxlow Hosking. What an interesting name. Foxlow must have been perhaps her name previously, or one that's come down her line. That often happens where a name, like a surname, if the name's exiting the family, say for instance a girl, she may hold on to a name, hyphenate it, or have it as almost like a middle name. Beatson. Apologies, I have to keep holding on to it. There's a lot of wind we got. Now I do want to see where the police officer is. I want to see where this police officer is, because John Dudley didn't really get the name from him. But he said it was basically as soon as you walk in now. Let's just have a look over here. Bertie. Mary Ann Davies. As you can see, they're quite a lot of iron. Henry Carrot. Sadly that one's gone. Esther Eleanor Paskin. Now look at this. It's quite interesting. Susan Melville and John. Wow, that's amazing. I just wanted to see. I know Mitch has been down here, but I really wanted to get the police officer if I could. Perhaps that's it down there.
And here is Police Sergeant James Beatty's grave. It looks as though it's been looked after well, and people still come to pay their respects. And we did too. Well, that wraps it up for us this week. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and hit that notification bell so you're aware when we're going on more adventures.
Aussie made.